Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to have an example of the process of normalization. All right. So previously we have discussed how to identify the functional dependencies and the primary key in relations. All right. So as a recap, I'm gonna just show the slides. So we had two examples here. Last time, we want to identify the functional dependencies in this relation, for example, staff branch. Okay. The first functional dependency will be the primary key functional dependency, which will be determining all other attributes. Okay, so this is the first one. Then we use the information provided by the enterprise about the relationship between attributes, or we use our common sense to understand the relationship between these attributes. So we got branch identifies or determines branch number, determines branch address determines branch number because it's one-to-one in both directions it works. And then we see that based on the branch number and position, salary can be determined. Okay? As a result, branch address plus position will be determining salary as well. Okay, so that was an example. We identify the functional dependencies. And this was the second example based on the values an attribute has. Okay, we see when a value appears, for example, on A, it will another value will appear on C. So logically, it's a functional dependency. So one-to-one. All right. Now, let's move to the process of normalization. Okay, this is the process of normalization. It's, as we said, it's bottom-up approach. We start identifying the attributes and relationship among them and the constraints, which is the primary key. We are going to focus on three normal forms. First, the relation will be in its unnormalized form. So before we start, it will be here, unnormalized form. Then number one, when we remove the repeating groups, it will be in its first normal form. Then in order to convert the first normal form relation to the second normal form relation, we need to remove partial dependencies. Okay? And third, when we want to convert the relation from its second normal form to its third normal form, we need to remove any transitive dependencies. So three steps. We're going to have an example in order to show how to do all these steps. Okay? Now, in the relation, its unnormalized form, it's a table that will be containing more than one or more repeating groups. Okay, so the main goal here is if we want to convert this relation or the unnormalized form relation into the first normal form, what we need to do, we need to remove repeating groups. Okay, this is the point. So this is the main idea about converting it to first normal form. Again, as I said, in the first normal form, when we want to convert it to the second normal form, the relation, we must remove any partial dependencies. So what is the first normal form relation? It's a relation that each row and column would contain one and more and only one contains one and only one value. Okay, so as I said, from UNF and normalized form to first normal form, we need to, number one, we need to identify and remove repeating groups. Okay, that's the point. Because the main goal here in the first normal form, that each row and column will include only one value. All right. So what is the meaning of repeating groups? They are attribute or group of attributes that occur with multiple values for a single occurrence. For example, if I say this, let's say, for example, here I have staff name, or let's say branch, okay, and I have staff member, okay. In each branch here, for example, I have one branch including, for example, branch number 001. Okay, branch number 001 will be, for example, Ahmed, Amal, Ali, okay, Nada, and so on. So how many values here for only branch number 1, branch 001, for 4 different names. So that's the meaning of repeating group. And what I mean here is, if you imagine that this is like that, okay? So this branch is fine. It's including only one, the attribute including only one value. But the problem is here. Who are staff members in this branch? For example, main or leading staff member. These are 4. So multiple values for the same cell. Okay, so this is the meaning of repeating group. So repeating group, an attribute or a group of attributes will occur with multiple values for a single occurrence. This is a single occurrence. There will be multiple values. Okay, how we can convert? So the first process, the first step in normalization, we are going to convert the unnormalized form. I'm going to give you an example now, okay? Unnormalized form to first normal form. There are actually 2 approaches to do so, okay? To remove repeating groups. To remove repeating groups, there are 2 approaches. Approach number one, we can flatten the table, which means that we like fill in the blanks. For example, we have in this example, which I give you, we put them all in separate, and whatever here, for example, I can put them to flatten this table. I can have branch, okay, staff, like that. Okay, so each cell will include only one value. So in every, like, let's say here, let me just duplicate. In every cell, I'm gonna put B001 because all of them will belong to, okay, like that for each name. This is the meaning of flattening the table. We are filling the blanks, having only one value, one single value for each. See here, like that. One single value for each attribute, all right, for each cell of this. So this is the first approach. The first approach is flattening the table, all right. So any empty column or row will be containing repeating groups. Okay, we can just have them in multiple rows like that in this example. And this was a row that includes, or a cell in the row that includes multiple value or repeating group. So we can just separate them into rows or tuples and fill the blanks with the missing data. All right, so we duplicate the non-repeating data where required. This is the meaning of flattening the table. Let's talk about the second approach, which is more applicable, and I recommend the second approach. Why? Because we place the repeating group, repeating data, along with a copy of its original key, which means the primary key, in a separate relation. Okay, in a separate relation. So sometimes the normalized table might include more than one repeating group or repeating groups within repeating groups. So we can just have them in separate relations. Okay, so this is the second approach. Place the repeating group in along with its key or the primary key in a separate relation. Let's see how we can do this as an example. Both approaches are correct. You can apply them both. But the second one, the second approach, which I said I recommend, it will be producing more relations or more tables with less redundancy, because we don't need to duplicate data. All right, we want to get rid of the redundant data. So we will see how we can attempt each approach. All right. Yes, exactly. We will save storage in that case. Okay, so let's see how we can do the first approach. Now, the unnormalized form, from where we will get the unnormalized form. Can you see this? These are like cards by Dream Home Lease on the top right side. And they are filling these cards with numbers, or let's say forms, whatever. So they are filling it with data. For example, client number, full name, client name, and on the right side, property number, property address. Down there is monthly rent, rent start and finish, and down or in the lower right corner, you can find owner. So how many categories we have here? One for the client, sorry. I'm sorry. And one for the property, one for the rent, and the other piece of information will be owner, will be about owner. Okay, so this kind of data we want to put them in an unnormalized form or unnormalized table. How we can do that? We will take every attribute. For example, client number, we can also change the attribute into whatever we prefer. For example, client number will become client NO. Client name or full name will be C name. If property number will be property NO. Property address will be P address. And for the rent also, we will have rent start, rent finish, and rent, the amount, which means amount. Then last will be owner number and O name. All right, got the point? So we got this data from these cards, or let's say forms. All right, and we put them in one unnormalized table. So all of these data will be inserted. For example, for client number CR76, okay, who is John K. He have, let's say, yeah, PG4, CR76. Yeah, he is maybe he's viewing, I guess, PG4 and PG16. So two property numbers for the same client and two property addresses. And that is what we mean by repeating groups. Okay. So we have identified the repeating groups here, which is multiple values for a single occurrence of an attribute. And also Alan Stewart, she displayed 3 different properties. Okay, so these are repeating groups. Now, in the unnormalized table, we will number 1, we will identify the repeating groups. What will come next? Let's see the next step. Okay, so this is an example about the unnormalized table. Okay, unnormalized table. Let's see how we can convert it using both approaches. Convert it to first normal form. First, let's see the first approach, which is flattening the table. How we can flatten the table here? By repeating, by doing like this. See, we will separate them. And we put this, we duplicate it. We fill the blanks. See, we fill the blanks. All right. Same here. All right. Same for the second one. So this is the first approach. Let's see the table or the relation, how it will look like. See this one? So this is the first normal form using approach number 1, which is flattening the table. As I said, see here, flattening the table. So it becomes like single or one only value for a single occurrence of an attribute, but you will find that there are redundant data. Okay, so all became one single value for each occurrence of the attributes. This is approach number 1. So this is now we can call this relation in first normal form relation. All right, first normal form relation using the first approach, which is flattening the table. Okay, now in this relation we can identify the function dependency. Next we will identify the function dependency using this approach. So we can find, okay, we can find that there are how many function dependency? 1, 2, I guess there is missing data here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I guess. So there are some candidate keys, like for example, client number, property number, client number, rent start, and property number, rent start. So we will select client number and property number as a candidate key. Okay, so both, if you can see here, both client number and property number will be identifiers or determinants for many of these attributes. Okay, now the client number and a property number as a primary key will be identifying client number and property number, will be identifying the rent start and rent finish. All right, so this is number 1. Number 2, a client number with a client name. This is the partial. All right, this is the partial. This is the function dependency number 2. Property number will be identifying property address, rent, owner number, owner name. This is also, these two also are partial see, most of the time, the partial dependency will be including number and name. All right, you can see that. So name, number and name. This is the same, number and name. This is partial. Okay, and what is the transitive? Partial means the dependency will remain even we remove, for example, owner number, it will be removed. Owner name will be dependent also on the other attribute. Okay, so this is the meaning of partial, not full dependency, not one-to-one. No, there is also another attribute will be associated with the same relationship. Okay, how about the transitive? Transitive means when, for example, let's focus on that. When property number, okay, well, when property number will be determining the property address, and property address will be determining owner number. Okay, then owner name will be functionally dependent on property number through, or the same. Property number will be determining owner number. Property and owner number will be determining owner name. Then owner name will be functionally dependent on property number transitively. Okay, got the point? Here is this relationship A to B and B to C. Remember the transitive? We have this one here. Okay, when property number determines owner number, at the same time owner number determines owner name, then owner name will be functionally dependent or transitively dependent on property number through owner number. This is the same. So this is transitive dependency. And the candidate key, for example, client number determining all of these attributes. Also, yeah, I'm sorry, sorry. Client number along with the rent start are determining all attributes. Again, property number plus rent start will be also determining these attributes. So this can be counted as candidate key, which identify each tuple of the relation. So client number rent start, this is a candidate key. Property number rent start. So this is the most important data in this relation, right? So when the client is viewing property, he will be aware about the rent start, okay? Or there will be a date for the rent start. Same with the property number. Okay, but we can see that both client number plus property number will be primary key. So it's a composite key. All right. Now, using approach number 2, okay, using approach number 2 to convert or to convert the unnormalized form to the first normal form. So this is approach number 2. How we can do it? We said we remove the repeating group and we place it in a separate relation along with its key. So we said we noticed that the client here in the unnormalized form, this one, we noticed that the client here includes number of multiple. For example, property number will be repeated for each client. Okay, so we can just remove this and put the client number along with it. So we put it in a separate relation using the second approach. We remove the repeating group, we put it in a separate relation. So we have removed the property here. See, the relations will become 2. We separated client number. So see here, we put it with a key, with a primary key. So we have only 2 clients and we reduce repeating all these along with the names and so on. Now we have only the client number. All right. So we separate it, we decompose it into another or separate table. Got the point? This is approach number 2. And the other relation will become property rental owner. Still this relation will suffer from update anomalies. Still, why? Because there are so many dependencies which can be fixed, like transitive dependency, partial dependencies. Okay, so now this one is okay. This relation is normalized. Why? Because there are no dependencies. There are just few, just single attribute, single occurrence for each attribute. All right, so this is fine. This client relation is fine. Let's focus on the property rental owner, including client number, property number, property address, rental start and rent finish, rent owner number, owner. All right, sorry. So this is the second approach. Remove the repeating group and place it in a separate relation along with its key. Now let's talk about the second normal form, how we can convert this relation into its second normal form. Okay, there is no problem with the client relation. All right, so let's focus on the relation on the bottom, property rental owner. Okay, now so still we can see in that relation, in this relation we can see redundancy. We can see that client number will be redundant. It will be repeated for all these attributes. Still, we have also same branches are repeated. See here, and again with the branch address. There are also owner number, owner, all redundant data. Okay, Tony show. Okay, here it's repeated. So there are still redundant data. How we can fix it? So we can, it will be suffer from update anomalies. Let's identify the function dependency for this second relation in order to remove any partial dependency and place it in a new relation. So basically the second normal form means when we want to convert the first normal form to the second normal form, it means that we remove any partial dependency and place it in a separate relation along with its determinant or the key. Okay, so let's do this. We will normalize the second relation into its second normal form, and we will see what are the function dependencies appearing in this relation. As we discussed before, we found that we rewrite the function dependency from the previous process. We have how many function dependencies? 6 function dependencies. And that can be identified by understanding the relationship between attributes in this relation. Okay, this is not applied for all relations, only depending on the requirements, depending on the information provided by the enterprise, depending on your understanding about the relationships between attributes. Okay, so the first function dependency will be primary key. For this relation, we will rewrite it for the second relation. All right, so the first function dependency, as we said, will be primary key, and that is the arrow. Okay, so a client number plus property number, both are determinant for rent start and rent finish. This is the primary key. Okay, also Client number will be determinant for client name, and as I said, this is the partial. Put in your mind that always if we have the or most of the time if we have the number and name, that is partial, because when number is not there, still there is name. All right, so it's partial dependency. Then function dependency number 3 will be partial. Why? Because there are also still we have property number and property address, number and address. Okay, then rent, owner number, owner name. Owner number and owner name is transitive. Why? Because property number determines owner name. Owner name determines owner number. Property number determines owner number, and owner number determines owner name. So owner name will be transitively dependent on property number. So that's why we said it's transitive. Okay. Function dependency number 5. This is just a candidate key. When client number and rent start, determining all other attributes. Same with the property number and rent start will be determining all attributes or any associated attribute. This is also a candidate key. Okay, so this is how we can determine the function dependency, but this is depending on again, I said depending on your understanding about the relationship between these attributes. Okay, let's see. We have two partial dependencies, right? We have client name and client number. Okay, from this relation, we have client name and client number and client name, and we have the property number and property address and all other attributes. So let's see. By removing all these partial and placing it in separate relations, okay, so this is a client rental. We have two partial, and notice that they had that relation from the first approach, okay, from the first approach. So it's not in its second normal form because there are still partial dependencies. So it's not in its second normal form because there is presence of any partial dependencies are present in this relation, still present in this relation. So what we need to do, we remove them and placing them in separate relation. For example, the first one, the client, as we said, is partial. So they took this relation from the first approach, not the second one. The second one we already separated the client, right? But this is, I guess, taken. Yeah, the client number is taken with the client name. This one, okay. This is number 1. And let's see the second partial dependency. They place it the property number and a property address. So they place property relation or property owner in a separate relation. So they put property number, property address, rent, owner number, owner name. This is the second one. And there is also, this is the second one, see? So the first one, the first partial dependency is a client number, client name, and the second partial dependency, property number and property address. Okay, so they place them into separate relation along with its determinant or the key. The key is there. See, property number and client number, it's there. Now, what remains here? The rental, client number, property number, rent start, rent finish. So what are the client number and property number? These are keys. So what remains from that relation? On rent start and rent finish. All right. So rent start and rent finish, we can see that this is the key, client number and property number, both are determinant for rent start and rent finish. So they keep them or place them with a key, with the primary key. All right. Now the third normal form also, if there are existence of or presence of any transitive dependency, if the relation in its third normal form, it means that there is no transitive dependency. But we can see here, if you can see, this is transitive. Why? Because property number determines owner number determines owner name. So owner name will be transitively dependent on property number. That is transitive. And that is be also the relation in this case will suffer from update anomalies. All right, so we can remove the transitive now. In this stage, we can remove the transitive, and we cannot say this relation is in its third normal form. It's second normal form only, because there are no partial dependency there. But we need to remove this and place it in a separate relation along with its key. So here you can find, so a client, for example, it's in first normal form and second normal form and third normal form, because no transitive, no partial, no repeating group. Okay, this also rental, it's in its there is only primary key, candidate key, so no partial, no transitive, no repeating groups. Only here in the property owner there is a transitive, because it's depending on the key, so there will be suffering, this relation will be suffering from update anomalies. So we need to remove only this from the third relation and place it in a separate relation. So I will remove, for example, they remove the owner along with its key, and they keep the key as a foreign key there in the main relation. Okay, there must be make sure that there are keys linking these all of these relations. So this is the foreign key, this is the primary key. All right, so now we can say that all these relations are normalized in its first normal form, second normal form, and third normal form. Okay, so this is a summary. All these, this is the unnormalized form. Okay, flattened table. So we remove the repeating group. This is the first normal form. We remove the repeating groups. Sorry, we flatten the table by filling the blanks. Then after normalization, in the first normal form, it becomes client rental. Second normal form, it becomes a property owner and a client rental. Then third normal form, it becomes 4 separate relation: client, rental, property for rent, and owner. Okay, so this is the process of normalization. This is a summary about a normalization, and these are normalized relations to tell its third normal form. And we can, this is the relational schema representation. If I say relational schema representation, it means we put the name of the relation, and inside a bracket there are the attributes for each relation, and we underline the primary key. This is the relational schema representation. اوكي هذه اللي تشوفونه يسمونه relational schema representation. Kill relation can be converted to its relational schema by having the name of the relation, and inside circle brackets you can list all the attributes included within that relation, and don't forget to underline the primary key. Okay, so the client will include only 2 attributes. Client number is a primary key. There is no partial dependency. There is no transitive dependency. There are no repeating groups. So this is fine. So it's normalized in its first, second, and third normal form. Let's look at the rental. Rental is the same. It's normalized. All of these are normalized in its third normal form till its third normal form. Okay, and this is just some tips that you can, or definitions. So second normal form, relation. Second normal form, it's a relation in its first normal form. And so every non-candidate key is fully functionally dependent on any other candidate key. Third normal form is a relation in its first normal form and second normal form, and in which no non-candidate key attribute is transitively dependent on any candidate key. Okay? So, of course, you are aware of partial and transitive, not just the primary key, okay? Any other candidate key. All right. Here it says that sometimes decomposing relations will be produced in both cases. Sometimes the system is complex, and that will simplify, normalization will simplify the complex. There are sometimes hidden redundancy and complexity in some systems, and it must be also normalized in other levels of normalization. That was all for this chapter slide. Do you have any question, guys? Do you have any question? Okay, I hope that you have you got the point of having these three processes. Okay, three things I want you to do. I need. Okay, good, perfect. I need you to have a look at some of the information that we have provided, that we have discussed before. ER, how to draw an ER. That's the point of having the chapter slide. It's not about reading the chapter or reading the book and coming and memorizing the information and coming and answering the questions. There will be no direct question, guys. There will be only questions based on your understanding. How to draw the AR diagram, how to draw an EER diagram, how to normalize relations. So the questions will be, I'm going to provide an unnormalized, for example, for this chapter slide, I'm going to provide a normalized relation, and then you are going to normalize it. You are going to apply all these normal forms to normalize it and then produce other relations. Okay, you are going to identify the functional dependencies. So please have a look at all information, understand it very well, and then inshallah next time I'm going to give you some examples about how to do all these things, inshallah. So don't worry about the projects. I had some changes in the project. Not changes. The groups who were including 4 members is fine. Some of the groups were missing only 1 member, so I have added more members to some groups. I had these groups. I'm gonna create some folders, and then I will give you some tips about the project. I need you to start as soon as possible. And you have now the idea, the topic. You need to start. You need to have your attributes, your database, your whatever. So we will, inshallah, next time on Thursday. On Thursday, we are going to talk about the project, all right, and the steps of the project. So I want you to think about it seriously, okay? And inshallah, next time we will see you. Thank you so much for attending today, and see you next time.